Introduction to Minor Stems. With this module, we are coming to the end of the second part of Ross's textbook. His first part, he entitles Signs and Sounds, and then his second part, Forms and Meaning, and that's basically morphology, all the verb forms, the noun forms, some syntax as well. After this, in part 3, he'll go into readings from the Bible. He calls it Text and Context. And he'll inductively review all the grammar we've done to this point, and introduce some other grammar as well. But with this module, we're introducing chapter 40, which comes at the end of this major second part, the second section, which is the heart of the book. And what is it about? It's introducing minor stems. Most of these are a variation of the 7 major stems that we've already covered. So a variation of Kal, Nifal, Piel, Pual, Hitpaal, and Hifil, Hofal. A good chunk of these minor stems that we're going to look at are alternative forms for the Piel, Pual, Hitpaal, especially for hollow verbs and gemnits. So we'll look at a few versions of those. We'll also look at 4-letter roots. There are some Hebrew verbs and words that have 4 letters for their root. We'll look at something called the Kal passive. And finally, we'll look at a binyan, or a stem, that only applies to one verb, and that is the verb to bow down or to worship. But the verb to bow down or worship occurs a lot, so you need to know what that stem is, called the hishtafel. And it's actually easy to recognize, because it's got that big hisht at the beginning. Sort of like hitpael has a big prefix. Hishtafel is easy to recognize. So it's not hard. This is the chapter. I wouldn't memorize all the details in this chapter. It's something to be aware of. You need to be aware that these other exotic stems exist, so that when you encounter them, you at least know where to look to see what's going on. But there are a lot fewer verbs that take these stems than the major ones we've seen. So it's not a major category in terms of how many verbs actually use them. And it's kind of fun because you see all these exotic looking stems that exist in Biblical Hebrew. Okay, so let's move on to our first module. We'll look at the actual minor stems.